As many of you know, I sell a board on my website called the RGBtoHDMI. I've talked about it for years, and over 800 of you have bought one of those boards from me. Thank you very much for supporting the channel. The most requested feature that gets asked of me is there any way to combine the audio that comes out of these vintage computer and game systems into the HDMI signal so that we can just use one cable, plug it into an audio-capable monitor or TV, and we don't have to worry about setting up separate speakers or whatever. Well, today I'm going to be talking about a solution to that very problem. Do you ever wonder what that little pocket on the front of your jeans is for?
You ever wonder what this pocket's for? I've always wondered that. Well, now we know.
No, it's not for an iPod Nano, it's for this. This little board is the audio board that goes with the RGB to HDMI. It attaches quickly and easily, and you can input audio from almost any source. So that's what we're going to be talking about today on Retro Hack Shack. And here it is, the audio board for the RGB to HDMI. I had to use a little background here because the board is the same color as my desk here. But anyway, this is a long time coming. As I mentioned, it's definitely the most requested feature that I've had coming from users. And there's other ways to get the audio signal onto the HDMI cable. You can buy combiners on various sites, Amazon and others. They go between $30 and $60. And yeah, you can buy those and combine the audio manually, but even those are not perfect. Sometimes there can be delays and things. So this board has been developed by the wonderful E&B, who designs all these boards and maintains the designs for the existing ones. And he also runs the support. If you've ever been on the support channel and asked a question, he's probably been the one to reply to you. And he's been working on this board for some time. And it's very small and very thin, as you can see. It's only 0.8 millimeters thick, this PCB, and it doesn't have anything on the back, just on the front. It's got a few audio connections here and some pinholes up here, which I'll talk about in just a minute, but it's a very small board, and Ian's done a really great job designing this. One of the things about this particular board is the way that it connects to the RGB to HDMI, because as I said, so many of you have bought one of those boards either from me or from other folks that sell them, that this was designed in a way to fit those existing boards. And it does require some soldering, but the soldering is very easy. Even a beginner solderer, a beginner at soldering could actually attach this to the board. So before I do anything else, let me show you how you connect this to your RGB to HDMI. And there we go. Through the magic of editing, this is now connected to an RGB to HDMI device. So as you're taking those digital inputs or analog inputs in from your old computers or whatever, you can actually bring in the sound as well and have it all go out through that HDMI cable. Now you'll see up here, these little solder pads here, the ones that are silver, are the only ones you need to solder. And as I said, it's pretty easy to do. This actually fits over the 40-pin header here that the Raspberry Pi has underneath. It actually fits over those headers on top of the CPLD board here, the main board, and it just solders in place directly on top. Now, I had no problem getting this done first try. There are instructions on the GitHub page, so you can follow along there. But basically, you're just putting the board on top here like this, lining up pin 1 over here, and you put some solder on that first pin there, and then you press down on the board in the middle here over the CPLD chip, and you hit that solder again to melt it, and then that should make sure that this board is flat to the surface. It does need to be flat in case you want to put this into a case. And then once you've got that pin done, you just go ahead and do all of the other pins that are silver here, and then that will be all the connections that you need to make. And if you're wondering, sometimes it's hard to tell whether these particular solder joints are actually connected or whether you just filled the hole with solder. I wouldn't worry about that too much. The solder will want to stick to these pins underneath naturally, and it won't want to bridge pins because of the solder mask on the board. But you can always do a little visual inspection by turning the board this way and either using your phone, or if your eyes are good enough, if you're not me, you can actually look in here and you can tell which pins are connected, and if they're not connected, it'll be pretty obvious. But if you just look in between the two boards, you'll be able to see that those pins are connected. Now, you might be asking, why not have a separate board for this or build it onto the CPLD mainboard itself? Well, there's really no room on the CPLD anymore to add this many components. So this was a good compromise solution because, as I said, it allows people that have an existing RGB to HDMI board to just solder this in place and start adding audio right away, and they don't have to buy a new board. And it's pretty inexpensive. I think it's $25 on my site. You can go buy it now. Many of you already have. As I'm taping this, I put it up on the site to get ready for this video, and people just started buying it. I've bought quite a few of these boards, but they will run out eventually. So don't wait on this. If you want to get one, go ahead and get it, because I'm not sure when I'll be able to place another order from China anytime soon. Or if I do, prices may be impacted. They're already impacted on my site a little bit, but yeah, we'll just have to wait and see what happens. But anyway, I did a big order for these things, so there's a lot of them on hand right now, so go out and get yours today. As I mentioned, the nice thing about this being so flat is that it will fit into an existing case. If you bought one of my older plastic cases, or if you bought one of my newer acrylic cases that I need to make some more of, I know some of you are waiting on those. You've subscribed to be notified. But yeah, it'll fit in either of those. In either of those scenarios, the acrylic case that I sell or the old plastic case that's still available from other folks, this will actually, you can feed these wires up through this little hole in the back of the board here, and then that will be a nice place to provide some strain relief, as well as just route those through the case nicely. And you should be able to get that out through the side of the case. Speaking of cables, this cable I also sell on my site, or you can pick one up. It's a TPS cable, stereo cable with a female socket on one end, and that will connect nicely to the board. The one thing that I would mention, though, is that a lot of these cables, the colors are not standard on them. So this one that I am selling today matches, I believe, what's on the GitHub page, and it's also illustrated on my shop. When you buy this, you'll be able to see the pinout for it, but don't always count on that being right, because when I reorder these, the next time I get them, the colors might be flip-flopped or different. So what I recommend doing is plug a jack in and test these connections so you know which one is left, which one is right, and which one is ground. And those are the three connections here on the audio board: left, right, and ground. If you were hooking this up to maybe an Amiga or something like that, and you've put the RGB to HDMI inside your Amiga, not to worry, you can just use some wire and go ahead and bodge in the connections from the existing audio. You can just attach directly to those for inside the Amiga and just run wires over to this board, and that'll work just fine. There are also instructions on the GitHub page for attaching to other unique boards like the ones that Copper Dragon sells. So you can find those instructions over on the GitHub page. Okay, so we're going to test this out on our real system in just a minute, but I wanted to go over a few more things that you need to know about this board. One is that you will probably need to update your firmware unless you're on the latest beta version of the firmware as of the date of this recording. Of course, that will get merged into the release version at some point, but as of this recording, you're going to have to go ahead and get the beta version of the firmware and then update your RGB to HDMI, update the SD card on that by formatting it, and then reloading all the files that are in that new firmware download that you can get. And that will add the audio support for you. And when we go into the RGB to HDMI menu, you will see a new menu item here called HDMI audio menu. So if we go down to that, we now have this new menu, and it has a few options in it. So let's go over those and I'll tell you what they all mean. So we have audio capture. That's pretty self-explanatory, but yeah, if you want to turn off audio capture or turn it on if you've had it off before, that's where you would do that. The next one down is the audio mode, and let's go down there and take a look at those options. So stereo is the default, can make sense, but you can also do a mono mode. This would be the left channel information or left channel audio coming in, would play that in mono mode, or you can have mono right, meaning only the right audio channel would be played, or you can have left and right swapped. So if you do get your left and right mixed up, or perhaps you, for whatever reason, you need to swap those for your particular game is messed up or something, and you need to swap them because the channels aren't right, you can do that with that mode there. Next up, we have the capture type. Most people will probably use direct capture, I'm assuming, but there is also another mode in here called delayed DMA. Now, I don't know a whole lot about these capture types, but obviously one of them is for DMA capture, and you can add a little delay in there. And as you can see down on the next menu item, you can set that DMA delay. Right now it is set to 3, but if you need to adjust that one way or the other to make sure the audio is aligned with your video signal, that's where you can go ahead and do that. Then there are various types of clock syncs. I believe variable PLL is the default clock sync type, but if you're having trouble and it seems like the sync is off, you can go in here and you can change this sync to PLL fast, samples only, or fixed PLL and samples. But variable PLL is the default. Optimized profile, I believe the default is on. This sets up some overclocking on the chip and things because, as you can imagine, doing pixel perfect HDMI output with almost no delay and injecting audio, having the processor be able to actually go through that and do the audio as well, is pretty demanding on these systems. So if you turn optimized profile off, your luck may vary, but that is on by default. And like I said, it includes some overclocking and things like that to be able to handle the demands of the additional processing needed for the audio signal. And then these last menu options are for playing sample wave files. Now, you can play these just with your existing RGB to HDMI. You don't have to have the audio board connected, but what this does allow you to do is test your monitor to make sure that it is correctly receiving the audio information over the HDMI cable. So if you've ordered one of these audio boards from me and you just want to make sure that the way that you have your system configured is going to work for you, you can go down to these last few settings down here, and you can select, there's a couple different wave files on here, and you can even add your own wave files if you want to test those. And then you can play the test wave. So let's go ahead and do that. Loads the wave file. So there we go. So we're playing 8-bit March here, and that will continue to play until you turn it off. So you can see we're going through the menus here. It doesn't care. It's just going to go ahead and play that audio. And I think it might even repeat. I can't remember. But yeah, it's just going to keep playing. The way that you turn it off is you go down to the bottom here and you do stop playing audio. And that will, of course, stop playing the audio just as you would imagine. So yeah, that's all the things. It also does have a test tone. I forget which frequency this is set for, but you can also play that. There we go. And yeah, so if you just want to have a test tone, you can do that. But that's the audio menu. Pretty simple. Most of you probably won't have to change the default settings, but you can go in and play around with those and get an idea for what this is going to sound like on your particular monitor or TV before you even get your new audio board to put on your RGB to HDMI. All right, well, as you can see, I've got some equipment out, so we're going to be testing this new audio board. But first, I just wanted to show you that there's no trickery taking place here, and that you can hook up just about any audio source to this audio board, and it will combine it through the HDMI. So I don't have any computers running or anything, but I have hooked up my phone directly to the audio board here, and we can go ahead and play a sound file, and it will be coming through the TV. So here we go. Okay, that's probably about enough of that as I can play without getting a copyright strike. But yeah, that's the theme from popular show Computer Chronicles that I watched back in the day. So yeah, this is playing through my phone, just a normal audio file. You can hook up, pretty much any audio source you want, and it will go ahead and combine that through the HDMI cable to the monitor or TV that you've got hooked up. Okay, now let me show you what else I've got going on with this Apple II. So all I've done here is I've disconnected the speaker from the Apple II. As you know, the Apple II has a built-in speaker and it connects via a pin header over here. So I just went ahead and disconnected that, and then I built this little custom cable, being careful to note which side is ground and which side is the modulated side of this, because we've got the RGB to HDMI hooked up to the composite output of the Apple II, which is of course using ground for ground. So the ground has to be connected. You want the same ground on your audio cable to be connected to the motherboard as is shared with the RGB to HDMI. Otherwise, there can be a conflict. I actually got this switched around initially and had it the wrong way in the pin header so that my ground didn't match up. And when I turned on the Apple IIe, I just got the blinking light in here, just kind of blinking on and off, and that was all I got. So that I quickly realized what the problem was and switched that around, and now it should work. So I'm just going to feed this out through the back here, and I'm going to connect this to the audio cable. Make sure it's plugged in all the way, kind of snaps in like that. And now I can put the lid back on, make it look a little bit nicer, and we should be ready to load a game. So I think I've got maybe Choplifter in here right now. It doesn't have a ton of audio on it, but should be enough to at least test this for the first try here. So here we go. Oh, I heard the beep coming out of the monitor already, and we're loading up the loading program. So we'll load Choplifter, and I'll be right back. All right, here we go. Here's Choplifter up and running. One of the people that commented on my second channel video where I got an Apple IIe, I wasn't used to working on the Apple IIe, and I knew there was a joystick port inside the Apple II, so I made that special adapter for it. And then many of you in the comments let me know that there was a joystick port right on the back of the Apple IIe. So yeah, I've got the joystick plugged into that now. I'm using that funky adapter. So thanks to all of you who set me straight on that. You guys always are good at that, and you're all pretty nice about it too, I must say, when I mess stuff up on the channel. So anyway, here we go. Choplifter's ready to go. We've got that joystick that I showed on that second channel video as well here, so I just figured we'd go ahead and grab that and see if we can get some sound. Here we go. Yep, it's coming out of the monitor for sure. And like I said, there's not a whole lot of sound, but you know, you can definitely hear the little beeps and blurbs here. Oops, let's get that tank. Oh, come on, get him. There we go, got him. And then we can go pick up some people over here. Woo! Oop, here they come, and you can hear the bloops and beeps. Again, like I said, this isn't probably the best awesome music demo or anything like that, but this is what I would be doing if I was using an Apple IIe. Probably is I would be playing a game like this from the olden days. I don't know when this came out. I missed it on the intro screen, but probably was, there they go. Probably was in, I would say, the early 80s. So yeah, there we go. Choplifter is working. Let me load up Oregon Trail, because I know there's some music in Oregon Trail that plays once you get your carts loaded and everything. So let me get that up and running. And here we go. Oregon Trail is up and running. I'm going to quickly run through this because I know the music comes on after you buy your oxen and load your wagons and everything. So let me skip through this real quick and we'll see if we can hear that lovely 8-bit music. Okay, here we go. I've just bought one oxen. That's the minimum that you can buy. If you don't buy anything, I don't think they let you keep going. So I bought one oxen to travel across the country in my wagon here. Let's see if I think there's music here. Loading the wagon. Aha, there we go. A little loud. Okay, that's enough of that. But yeah, so it plays music just fine, and this does exactly what people were looking for. So thanks to Ian over on the project for making it simple to add to an existing RGB to HDMI. Now, if you're wondering how to order this on my site, I know there's been some confusion, but I do want to tell you where you can find the pinout for this cable and everything like that. So let's go take a look at that real quick. So if you haven't been to my page before, here it is. I'm not going to go through a deep dive here or anything, but I did just want to point out that I have redesigned the site to be a little bit more modern, I guess, and simple. So yeah, you can find products on here. I just added this Kung Fu Flash 2, by the way. You can also order one of those, and I've got some other things coming up in the very, very near future. But yeah, for now, we just want to go to the RGB to HDMI video interface. You can just click on the picture there. You can go to shop, and all of my major products will be listed here. And they're listed in order of project. Like all the things I sell are kind of related to a particular project. So if we go to RGB to HDMI, for example, all of the things that you can buy on this page are specifically related to the RGB to HDMI. So the way you order one of these audio boards, for example, is you go over here, it says choose your option, click that, and you get a whole list of things from the main adapter here. That's the CPLD board, to the analog board, the 12-bit extender board. Since this thing has so many different things that you can order with it, I put them all on this one page, and all you have to do is choose the option that you're interested in purchasing. In this case, we're interested in choosing the audio board. So you click on that, got a little information down here for you with a link to the GitHub page, and you can go ahead and order one of those right there. And then what I would suggest that you do, you don't have to do this if you already have something in mind, but if you need one of those audio cables, again, you just go back to the drop-down list, audio cable, $5, add it to your cart. And like I said, this is the pinout, and this is the pinout I actually just used to create that cable for the Apple IIe. I forgot what the pinout was of the 1/8" jack, the 1/8" stereo jack. So I just pulled up the store page and I was like, oh yeah, the tip is the leftmost one, and then you get the right, and then you've got the ground. But anyway, I put this image here to help you identify which color code on the current audio cable I'm using, which one is left, right, and ground, to make it easier for you. But as I state down below here, just test this, because at some point I may have to get more of these audio cables. They may not match exactly, and it's going to take me a few days when I get the new cables in to update this graphic. So just make sure you test these things out when you get them. But otherwise, that's how you order the new audio board. And yeah, I hope you all are able to get one before they run out. Well, there you go. I'm really excited. I know you guys are really excited about this great new feature. The board doesn't cost that much. I ordered as many as I could before the high tariffs kicked in, and now they're back down, and who knows what's going to happen. But hopefully I have enough to last for a while, and people have already been ordering them just because they showed up on the site and they showed up on the wiki. So I've already sold a bunch, but go out there and order these audio boards, and I hope you like them. Yeah, just tap into your audio source as you normally would. Be careful of ground, and you can run that out to your RGB to HDMI and get that great pass-through audio. So I hope you guys like that one. If you do, I'm going to go ahead and put a link to one of my oldest videos on the channel showing how I first got started using this RGB to HDMI. Thanks to all my supporters, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.
End of line.